Hello, guys. Good morning, everyone. And today we're going to be talking about I think this is module 4 already of the subject therapeutic modalities. So I'm very much sorry that today we're just going to have a recorded lecture instead of a synchronous one because I have something to do, which unprecedented event that I need to do. So for you to still have you still have the topic for us to discuss, still the scheduled topic for today's session. So this is what I prepared now, and today we're going to be talking about as I've stated, the module 4 of this subject matter on therapeutic modalities, which will concern about the Nelson Mandela rules. Now, this is still in relation to our subject, therapeutic modality. So, to sum it up, our topic would be the following. Now, we have to discuss the basic principles of the Mandela rule. No? They have different rules under these topics. So, the basic principles, separation of categories, that is in relation to prisoners and detainees. No? The rules in terms of accommodation, the rules in terms of personal hygiene, the rules in terms of the food, no? And exercises and sport and healthcare services. So as I've stated, we're going to cover a lot of topic today. So if you are ready, no, I think we should start already. So before we proceed, I would like to introduce first to you what's the Mandela Rule and who is Nelson Mandela. So basically, Nelson Mandela was a political figure and very well known for that. No, kilala siya sa in terms of advocacy, in terms of political involvement, and in terms of fighting for the human rights of each and every individual, specifically the human rights of his countrymen. Now, so Nelson Mandela was, uh, as I've stated, is a political figure, and he was once the president of the South Africa, and the very active one. No? So there is an existing government during the time, and of course, he is one of the shall we say critic. I don't know. He is considered as a revolutionary of by other historians. No? So the he was imprisoned because of his political beliefs for a very long time. No? And he was even considered as the most famous prisoner at the time. No? And because of that experience, no, we already believe that from that experience of being imprisoned and witnessing firsthand the prison situation, he noted or he put into writing the what we call now the Nelson Mandela rules. So that's just a brief background on who is Nelson Mandela and what is the Nelson Mandela rules in relation to human rights, and of course specifically in relation to the therapeutic modality, because there are a lot of principle that was adopted, no, by the current uh, therapeutic modality that we have right now, no, coming from the Mandela rule. No, this was already considered as one of the United Nations standard, no, minimum rules for the treatment of prisoner, which was derived, of course, from the experiences and, of course, the activism of Nelson Mandela. Okay, so that's just again a brief overview. Now, if you want to read more about his life, I think we have a lot of online resources to have available. No, so if you want to know more, you could just read on his biography. Okay, so we have selected some of the rules under the Nelson Mandela rules. I cannot cover all because it seems like the Magna Carta for prisoner, in terms of how in terms of their rights. So napakahaba, no. However, I would like to select some of the specific rules and the specific section of the rules, no, for us to have something in mind in dealing or in talking about the therapeutic modalities. So first thing, as I've stated, we're going to cover the basic principle. No? Under the basic principle, we have here the rule one. So under the rule one states there that of course we know this already. When we talk about human rights, generally we talk about respect to human dignity, respect to human value, and so on. Now, but we must remember that even a prisoner is still considered as a human being, so therefore he shall not be subjected to the abuses that are usually prohibited to be committed against a normal citizen, against a member of the society. Okay? So that involves yung mga tinatawag nating right against torture, cruel, inhumane, cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment are also prohibited to be done against them. And of course, the safety and security of prisoners, staff, service providers, and visitors shall be ensured at all times. So as you can see, it's not only the staff, but also the security of the prisoner shall be taken into account. Now, as I've stated, they still deserve humanistic treatment, humanitarian treatment rather. Now, because committing a crime does not make them less human. But of course, they should be treated with sympathy still. As we have stated, we are no longer on the concept of imprisonment as a form of punishment, but rather we see imprisonment as a form of rehabilitation, no? Rehabilitation program. So that's under the rule one, the basic protection of the rights of an individual. Under rule two, it requires there that the rules under the Mandela rules shall be applied impartially. So whatever is the benefit that are mentioned under the Mandela rules, whatever is the rights that are accorded to the subject to the prisoners under Mandela rule shall be applied impartially. So that would be no discrimination into your gender, into your language, religion, political affiliation, and other categories. No, so basically, what what the rule is pointing about is that what is applicable to one must be applicable to everyone. No. That is, of course, to promote the impartiality in terms of the application of the different rules under these Mandela rules. Okay, so we have also under number 2, paragraph 2 of the rule 2, in order for the principle of non-discrimination to be put into practice, the prison administrator shall take account the individual needs of a prisoner, which really is pointing out that although there is this fairness or impartiality in the implementation of different rules under the Mandela rules, but it should be taken into account also the individualized needs or individual need of each and every one. Yes, to avoid discrimination, we believe that what is applicable to one must be applicable to all, but of course, sometimes that's not the case. You would not treat a juvenile, prisoner, in the same manner that you're treating those adult prisoner. So, based on the needs, special needs of special categories, those who are either those person who are suffering from physical disabilities, So the rule must see to it that the prison management must see to it that their special needs are being addressed. They're being addressed properly. So although there is this impartiality in the application, but I don't think that such thing as individualized treatment would fall under discrimination. Hindi naman pang-discriminate yun. Kasi nga, sabi ko, hindi naman pare-parehas ang circumstances ng bawat tao. So, it could be that they're all convicted prisoners, but there are special needs that sometimes needed to be addressed. to make the rehabilitation process more effectively. So under Rule 3, now we're talking about the imprisonment and other measures that results in the cutting off a person from outside world is already considered as afflictive. That's true. And under Rule 3, it says here that other form of punishment that is applied within the prison shall not be encouraged. No? Kasi the mere fact that they're already being imprisoned or the mere fact that they're already being isolated from the society, that is already a punishment in itself. No? Um, yes, it's true. This may be contradictory, but no. No, sabi ko kanina, we view imprisonment as a rehabilitation. That's also what the government looks at it. If they are viewing imprisonment, the government would say that that imprisonment is indeed not for punishment, rather for rehabilitation and reformation. But of course, the offender, no, the person who is subjected to imprisonment would view it otherwise, no, would view it other way around. He would view it as an imprisonment or a punishment, di ba? Sabi ng gobyerno, imprisonment, that's not for your punishment. That's not for you to be punished, but rather you are being reformed and rehabilitated. That's the goal of imprisonment. Pero offender, ito namang si convict, no? Si prisoner would not view it that way, but rather sasabihin niya, hindi ito rehabilitation or reformation. This is a form of punishment for me. No? So there can be a conflict on how they view it. But the point under Rule 3 is that we should not aggregate the suffering that these prisoners are already receiving. No? Imagine mo na yan, siya ay nakulong na, naparusahan na ng pagkakakulong dahil siya ay nagkasala sa community, sa society, tapos pagpunta niya sa kulungan, makukulong na naman siya. So, it's a double jeopardy on that manner. So, this rule does not encourage the imposition of penalties or punishment inside the prison. Kasi the mere fact that they are there, no, na nandun sila, that is already a punishment. But of course, there are instances that such punishment would be necessary to maintain peace and order, or it will benefit more the prison community. No? So those are the exemption. But nevertheless, it does not encourage the imposition of such things, such as yung mga Bartolina. No? Hindi yan ine-encourage ng ating Mandela rules. Kasi sabi nga, kumbaga is mas lalo mong pinapalala yung kanyang situation, making him appear as hard-headed criminals, knowing that he was already imprisoned because he done something wrong to the community, and pagpunta niya sa kanyang isolated new community, magaganon na naman siya, wala na. He would come up with the realization that he is indeed a problem, no? Not only to the society, but to everyone. No? So we don't want that to happen. We want him to view himself as a person who is capable of changing, no? Who is capable of changing his life and go back to the community as a law-abiding one. So that's what we want. That's the purpose of the rehabilitation. But if we will make him realize that he is indeed a problem individual, he is the problem, he as an individual is the problem, then I don't think that any rehabilitation or reformation program would work on him. No? So we don't want that to happen. Under Rule 4, we're talking about the purpose of the sentence of imprisonment. No? So we have here the duration. Okay, we have the duration. We have such thing, of course, that is for the purpose of fairness. No, that's indeed for the purpose of fairness, because there are different crimes that are being committed and defined differently. No? You would not want to punish a person who pickpocket, no, who is doing pickpocketing, no, life imprisonment. Hindi naman po pwedeng itong mandurukot na ito ikulong mo ng panghabang buhay, no, tapos yung kriminal na nagpumatay ng 5 ay kulong mo ng 1 buwan lang. So there is this duration that is applied now depending on the gravity or seriousness of the crime that was committed. And that is also for the purpose of individualizing the approach that is being given to them by the prison administrators. No? So kung alam nila kung ano yung category or anong crime na commit ng isang individual na yan and how long he will be staying inside the prison, then definitely a specific program could be devised to address these problems. So that's what we want under Rule 4. No? We wanted to be the program to succeed by looking at the individual circumstances of each and every individual. And one of the categories that we're looking is, of course, the duration of the prison sentence. No? So under Rule 4, we have here additional, uh, the creation of a competent programs that would cater on the education, vocational training, and work, as well as other forms of assistance that are appropriate and available. So as you can see, you will notice that some of the provisions or some of the parts of these Mandela rules are adopted right now as part of the therapeutic modalities. No? This, to mention, yung sa education, bakit may mga free education, may mga free vocational training that are being applied in the prison, no? Bakit kaya may mga ganun? As I've stated, the purpose is to rehabilitate and reform, no? And what will happen after they're rehabilitated? Yes, and after they were already rehabilitated, no, or reformed, they will be released back to the community. Now, one of the aim, of course, of the therapeutic modality is for them to be prepared, no? To prepare them in reintegration, if the reintegration will come. Now, kapag ibabalik na sila sa community, they want these individuals to be prepared already mentally, physically, and others. No? So that would involve now educating them and training them for them to be equipped with such knowledge when they go back to the community. Ano? Kasi we don't want them to be stagnant. Ano? Imagine mo if a person was in prison for 20 years as wala siyang ginawa dun for 20 years, pagbalik niya, anong gagamitin niyang pamaraan para makapag-provide siya ng needs niya o ano man yung natutunan niya, no? Para lang sa ganun ay makakope up pa rin siya sa changes in the society. Wala. So that's why, even if they're already inside the prisons, there's still a need for them to undergo education, vocational training, and whatever training they could get, spiritual, social, and other different activities that aims to make them more, more of an asset to the community than a burden. So they should adopt that. So kasali lahat yan, And when we are looking into this, when we are considering undergoing or creating a program or activities, again, the concept of individualized treatment should be put into consideration. Kasi baka mamaya naman pinipilit mo, he would undergo educational training hindi nga talaga yun yung para sa kanya. Instead, baka ang gusto niya is with regards to skill development, such as gusto niyang matutong gumawa ng mga handicrafts and so on. Yun palang gusto niya, pinipilit mo siya sa general education. Wala naman na siyang balak ipagpatuloy ang kanyang pag-aaral. Maybe he just want to learn some skill that he could use to survive pag siya ay na-reintegrate na sa society. That's why individual treatment is very important, and we should look into the individual needs and what they want, so that we could properly address the situation that they have or the problem that they have. So that's under Rule 4. It's really is, I think, ideal to have this program. And as I've stated, the very provisions of this Nelson Mandela rule are already being adopted globally now by different prisons and so on. So the very concept of this is already it's considered as valid. That's why it's being adopted. Okay. So under Rule 5 also we have here the prison regime should seek to minimize any differences between prison and life at liberty. Okay? So based on what I had observed, no, while visiting some of the jails in our region, no, I noticed that of course they're adopting already the community setting, no. Ang kinukuha na nila is they're making it appear that there is a community inside the prison, which is really good to see, ano. So, ano ba yung community na yan? So, how does our community works, di ba? Tayo, halimbawa, in a barangay level, meron tayong barangay captain as the leader, we have the kagawads as the representatives by different factions, by different areas, jurisdiction, and so on. So inside the prison, they're also adopting that. No, that's why the first thing that you will notice is that they don't consider them as prisoners or detainees. Rather, they consider them as uh, residents, na mga residente ng jail or prison na yan. Which is, of course, ang ginagawa kasi nila dito is to simulate the life life outside the prison. Na they wanted to have those prisoners still have the feel of being a member of the community. Na gusto nilang iparamdam na sila ay meron pa ring community at sila ay isang miyembro ng community, and of course with that they have roles to perform or roles to na pwedeng gampanan, no? So either itong isang ito would be the teacher who would be helping those residents in education and so on. So meron pa rin silang kanya-kanyang ginagampanang role which simulates the situation in the community. That is of course to make it more easier for them to have a transition between life outside to life inside, and then life inside to outside. No, para magkaroon tayo ng smooth transition kapag nagkaroon na tayo ng release and pag pinasok na natin yung isang tao sa kulungan and so on, there shall not be a big difference between the life outside and life uh, inside the prison. So that's what Rule 5 wants to happen. Prison administrators shall make all reasonable accommodation and adjustment to ensure that the prison with mental and with physical, mental, or other disabilities have full and effective access to prison life on an equitable basis. So again, no discrimination. No, they should not be discriminated. Those person who would be who have some disabilities, no, who has some problem, emotional problem or mental problem, shall not be discriminated as they're leaving the simulated society. No? So the administrator shall make sure that no such thing happen. No? Na kahit nasa loob sila ng prison and they're simulating, ginagaya nila yung setup ng community, ano ay dapat maituro rin na yung mga merong mga disabilities or merong mga differences from them no, shall not be treated with discrimination. Okay? Kumbaga the prison culture. Okay? Ayan. So that's under the rule 1, ano? That's very important kasi you can see in terms of the programs that they're adopting, that's part of the therapeutic community, therapeutic modality programs, no? So based on what we are discussing, we are having an idea already, slight idea already on what should be the programs that should be implemented that would promote cure, that would promote rehabilitation, that would promote reformation for those who are undergoing who was being imprisoned because of committing crime. Okay, so we have also here the next part of the discussion would be the separation of categories. Under Rule 11, no, hindi tayo nag-jump tayo. As I've stated, I'm going to select some specific topic only. I'm not going to discuss them all. I'm just going to select significant topics such as yung in-skip kasi natin, that's with regards to prison file, filing and so on, the documents of the prisoners inside. So yes, that is important, but for the sake of therapeutic modality, I did not include it. Maybe you can discuss that to your subject, other subject, correctional institution 1 or 2, and so on. But then for this, now we're just focusing on the program that has something to do with therapeutic modalities. So, isa na dito yung tinatawag nating separation of categories. No? Under Rule 11, there is a different categories of prisoner, and they shall be kept in a separate institution or part of the institution. So we're talking about the demographic of the prisoners. No? So in terms of sex, age, criminal record, and sometimes the legal reason for their detention and necessity of either medical treatment and so on. So yes, of course, no. Probably Nelson Mandela had noticed that before, no, wala tayong tinatawag na separation. So, magkakahalo si babae, si lalaki, si bata, matanda doon sa isang prison. And that is really a ticking time bomb for the prison, no? Delikado 'yan kasi there could be abuses still addressed to aggression to the vulnerable category, no? Such as sa mga bata, sa mga kabataan, sa mga babae, and so on, pwedeng magkaroon ng abuses towards them. For us to avoid such thing from happening, Nelson Mandela proposes that there should be a separation based on the category depending upon their demographics, no? Such as, of course, men and women, no? Shall so far as possible be detained in separate institution. In our country, that is being followed naman so far. No? Hindi na ihahalo ang mga lalaking prisoners sa mga babae. No? We have the Correctional Institution for Women, or CIW, which houses all those who are convicted of a crime, no? Considered for national sentence, no? Or considered as a national prisoner, no? That would house only women convict, no? Sa mga babae ito. Specifically, it focus sa mga babae. And then we have naman for juveniles, we have a separate institution that would take charge of their well-being while they are being subjected to the concept of rehabilitation and reformation. No? For men, no, ayan. So sa mga lalaki marami, no, marami tayo nationwide. We have different prisons. We have Bilibid Prison. We have other prisons such as the Penal Colony, and so on and so on and so on forth. So the very idea is that segregation based on demography. No? I don't think I need to justify why, but given the circumstances, I think it's better to segregate them. No? Because we are trying to avoid something from happening. No? We're trying to avoid something from happening. That's why the segregation. And so, untried prisoners, yung mga undergoing trial, or those who are waiting for trial, or those who are, yes, they are considered as detained individual. They shall be kept away from the convicted prisoner, of course. Ano? Dapat talaga mahiwalay yung mga convicted na doon sa mga hindi pa convicted, kasi we don't want them to be influenced by criminals, by those convicted criminals of something bad. So, what we are trying to argue here is that kapag hindi ka pa naman talaga convicted of your crime, then you are still presumed innocent. Then there's no need for you to be awoken by the different things that are transpiring within the prison. No? Another is that person imprisoned for debt and other civil prisoner, yung mga civil cases ang kanilang violation, shall be kept away from persons who are imprisoned of criminal offense. That's not for the purpose of discrimination, of course, but that is just a technique, I think, that will benefit the country more. No? Will reduce the possibility of criminality to multiply because of words of mouth or stories coming from criminals and so on. So we don't want that to happen. That's why we separate those who has not yet convicted of a crime, kasi still they're presumed innocent. They are still presumed innocent. And for those civil offenses, yeah, of course, for civil offenses, no, yes, it's serious, but I don't think that they should be put into the category of those who had committed serious crime, na serious offenses. Kasi pwedeng sila ang mabiktima, sila ang biktimahin, or hindi naman kaya is maimpluwensyahan sila ng mga nag-commit na ng crime or the experience already committing a crime, which could worsen the situation that they're currently in. No? So we have also young prisoner. We're talking about CICL, child in conflict with the law. They shall be kept away from adults. That happens before. Now we're in juveniles are being added to the prisons of those adult criminals, and what really happened is a very, very bad thing that should have been anticipated by the government or by the groups in charge of the rehabilitation and reformation program. Ano kasi yung pwedeng mangyari? Siyempre, pwedeng itong si matandang kriminal, no? Impluwensyahan niya yung batang kriminal, turuan niya yung batang kriminal, no? And i-doctrinate niya yung batang kriminal and many other things that are undesirable. Na? In my some of my discussion that talks about juvenile delinquency and its root factors or root cause, na I've seen that I really argue that juveniles are not really criminal, but rather they are a product of their situation, a product of their circumstances, a product of their community, a product of their parents, and so on. So if a young prisoner would have yung tinatawag nating teacher-student relationship, that could worsen the case. Pwedeng turuan kasi siya ng matatandang kriminal, ng mga criminal activities or ng mga criminal methodologies and so on, that the young prisoner would use if he would be released to prison. So we would try to avoid that, and that's why categorizing them based on their demographic is really important in the field of therapeutic modality. Okay, so pagdating naman dito sa accommodation, So sa accommodation under Rule 12, it is noted that sleeping accommodation should be individual, per cells, okay, or rooms. So dapat bawat isang kwarto sa kulungan is dapat meron lang isang tao, Of course, if it's desirable, and it's practical to have at least two in one cell, then that would be better. But may I ask, in our country, if you have visited already some of the jails or prison in our country, we know for a fact that this specific rules under accommodation is not really happening, and it's very far from happening. Sabi dito, at least individualize ang cell, yung mga kulungan nila pag matutulog na sila. If pwede, isa-isa. Kung hindi kaya, pwedeng dalawa. But in our country, there are some jails that has only 2 rooms or 3 rooms, and they have been catering how many prisoners there. Pwedeng meron silang mga 10,000, 5 kahit sabihin na nating 500 prisoners right there. Ang laki nun, At kung tatatlo lang yung kanilang kwarto, pinagkakasya-kasya na nila yon. In our country, really we see, nakikita talaga natin that the problem here is overcrowding inside the prison. And napakalaking factor niyan, napakalaki ng effect niyan sa pag-succeed ng ating rehabilitation and reformation program. Kasi pag ganyang circumstances ang kanilang kinakaharap, then definitely I don't think that they would be able to concentrate in reformation. I really doubt about it. That's why it is important to follow such thing if it is possible to do it. Yung tinatawag nating ideal in terms of accommodation. In dormitories sabi natin kanina, if in case there's a need to mix at least 2 individual in one room, the prison administrator shall take into consideration if the 2 person could readily get along together. Baka naman mamaya magkalabang gang sila, magkalaban pala sila, may hindi sila pinagkaunawan na dati. So those could be the factor that would prevent that person to be mixed up with others. Kaya dapat tignan din ni prison administrator kung no? Nababagay ba, no? Nagkakaintindihan ba? Wala bang alitan tong dalawa na to para pwede silang magsama sa isang kwarto. But if there is, no, then definitely wag na wag mong pagsamahin yan sa isang kwarto kasi something might happen. Okay, under Rule 13, no? We are on Rule 13. We're still talking about accommodation. Accommodation provide for the use of prisoner. In particular, all sleeping accommodation shall meet all requirements of health, due regard to being paid in climatic conditions, and many more. No? So with regards to room, as I've stated, overcrowding is really a problem in our country. It's a problem by our prison facilities that there is such thing as overcrowding. Sobrang sikip sa kulungan, ang daming taong nagsisiksikan. I think it should be addressed first, addressed more, no, to make the program, the rehabilitation reformation program of the correction pillar more effective. Now, kasi hindi talaga sila makakapag-concentrate kung ganitong situation na siksikan na ganito. Kaya nga minsan the prison right now is facing a great uh, a great problem if we are going to consider the current situation that we have, pandemic, ano? So sa ganung kasiksikan tao, no, pag may isang tinamaan ng sakit diyan, COVID-19, nako delikado ang rest of the roommates kasi nga minsan there are 100 individuals in a standard room, no? A standard room size. Paano sila nagkakasya doon? Paano sila matulog doon? Napakahirap, no? So I'm boldly, blatantly stating that of course our country is really facing prison overcrowding, no? And that's one of the factors that the correctional pillar cannot be able to succeed or are not yet succeeding in the effectively reforming and rehabilitating those convicted individuals, no? Just because of this, and this is one of their reason for that. Under Rule 14, we have here in all places where prisoners are required to live and work, no? Sa kwarto, sa pinagtatrabaho nila, dapat meron tayong tinatawag na windows that are large enough, no? They should have sufficient lighting for them to be able to read or work now without hurting their eyes and so on. That's with regards to their life or work, no? So the government really demands, no, that there should be proper treatment in terms of the place to live in by the offender. Now we're not saying naman that they should be treated tawag doon na sobra-sobra. But then, as I've stated, they are still human beings. So what is entitled for a human being is still entitled to them, I guess. Na? So, with regards to living condition, dapat mapaayos, mapaganda, nating mabuti yan. Na? Kasi, if we wanted rehabilitation and reformation, we should really show it to them that we are really serious in doing so. Kasi baka mamaya sabi mo, rehabilitation, wala ka namang programang ginagawa for them, no? So what's the problem now? Paano sila magbabago if you're not trying to devise a plan that would address their problems? Okay? So that's with regards to Rule 14. Under Rule 15, it talks about the sanitary installation of, the rooms, the jails, and so on. Again, no, under Rule 15, I hope that this is really happening in our country right now with regards to sanitary, how sanitized are the prisons right now, the jails and prisons right now, no? Malinis ba, no? Kapag when meron bang tamang palikuran, those are very important kasi those are basic needs. So they should be prepared, or they must prepare, the government must prepare for those things, no? Para nang sa ganun is mas tumaas yung chance that the rehabilitation or reformation program will be efficient. Okay? Rule 16 with regards to, I think this is already on the hygiene part o hindi pa. So with regards to adequate bathing, no, bathing, shower installation, dapat may source of water, dapat merong enough number of rooms para nang sa ganun if masyadong marami doon sa isang rooms hindi magkakagulo sa pila kasi imaginein mo no, isa lang palikuran tas they are 100 person. How could they be able to utilize that in a very significant manner, ano? Maray mo natatay ka na pero ang pila hanggang 50. How could we able to remedy that upon? So there should be an adequate facilities that would cater, no, these following issues that we made mention. That is also to promote the general hygiene of each and every individual residing inside the prison. We have also under Rule 14, the Rule 14 talks about cleanliness of the prison, no? Uh, all the facilities in the prison, their jails, no, the park where they're exercising, the mess hall where they're eating must be clean, no, properly at all times. By the way, with regards to this, I think they themselves are being utilized as the cleaners of these different facilities, which is good kasi that is in addition to what they're doing. So para hindi sila magpagot, no, kahihintay matapos yung kanilang uh, sentensya kasi the highest so far is of course 20 years to 40 years. So pag ikaw ay nakulong ng 20 years, how can you be able to survive that by not doing anything? I don't think that's possible, no? Na you can survive staying inside the prison, being isolated from the community, and still you're not doing anything. So how could you able to survive that? Hindi mo malilibang yung sarili mo, no? Rule 18. We're talking about personal hygiene. Anyway, madali lang naman ito. Under personal hygiene, we're trying to maintain cleanliness not only on the surrounding but also by the individuals. Of course, if you have proper hygiene, there are tendencies that you will avoid a lot of sickness or diseases, especially those transmittable one, inside the jail. Pero kung talagang wala tayong tinatawag na personal hygiene, no? Wala man lang nanggugupit sa mga nakakulong, wala man lang nagbibigay ng shampoo, ng sabon, ng deodorant sa mga nakakulong, then what will happen? That would be a very, very big problem in terms of their personal hygiene and also to their health. Okay? So, for the promotion of personal hygiene, of course, dapat meron tayong mga CR, meron tayong mga toiletries, yung mga meron tayong mga damit na pwedeng gamitin ni prisoner in case he need to change one, no? And other relevant matter that has something to do with personal hygiene. So napakahalaga ng personal hygiene at as it promotes stable health among them. Kasi kung halimbawa yung kasama nyo 2 buwan na hindi naliligo, you will be affected kasi kung siya kasama mo lagi, kung siya katabi mo lagi, tapos siksikan pa kayo, hindi mo na maintindihan yung kanyang amoy, pwede kang magkasakit niyan. O hindi ka naman kaya dahil sa pagiging dugyot niya sa kanyang katawan, nahawa ka sa mga skin diseases or mga transmittable disease na pwedeng makuha dyan, you will be affected. So that's why personal hygiene must take into consideration also. Must be taken into consideration also. Hindi lang puro ganito ganyan. Dapat itong mga simple matters nito like CR, like toiletries, like towel and so on must be provided by the state, no, or must be remedied by the state. Okay. We have here under Rule 20, if a prisoner are allowed to wear their own clothing, arrangement shall be made on their admission to the prison to ensure that it shall be clean and fit for use. One thing that I did not mention under personal hygiene is the wearing of clothing, you probably notice bakit hindi nagsusuot ng ordinary clothing yung mga nandun sa loob. Really, actually they can. Pwede naman silang magdala ng kanilang mga sariling damit, but there should be an arrangement for that. Kasi baka mamaya is hindi siya nagsusuot ng kanyang prison uniform, baka pwede siyang makatakas dahil sisingit na lang siya sa mga bisita, sisingit na lang siya sa mga lumalabas-pasok doon na hindi na mamalayan, nakalabas na pala siya ng kulungan. So, there can be an arrangement that can happen, ano. But then I guess talaga pag doon sa loob, they are mandated to wear their prison uniform. Yung nakikita niyo yung may color coding, ano? May color coding yan. Yellow for detainees, no? Blue for mga medium, no? Orange or tangerine for those maximum, no? So they have color coding just to identify kung what category they belong and what part of the facility they belong to. But of course, what must be avoided is the inclusion of derogatory words na doon sa mga uniform nila. Halimbawa, paano naman kung sa uniform nila nakalagay kung anong krimen ang ginawa nila? Hindi naman po pwede yun. Ano? Kaya kung tignan mo, doon sa likod ng t-shirt nila, hindi na i-spell out kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng nakalagay doon. Meron lang letter P. Na? Sa kanilang t-shirt. Okay? Ano bang ibig sabihin ng P? Marami yan. It can be peso. No? But the mere fact that they're not spelling out what the letter P means, even if we know it already, but it's still they're ina-avoid pa rin nila yung derogatory words. No? I think sometimes that's part of the culture really inside the prison. Okay? But so I've stated they can wear their personal clothing, but it must be upon the permission of the administrator. Okay? Yeah, so under Rule 19, that also involves there the rules with regards to clothing that has something to do with humiliating or degrading markings on the clothes, no? Yung clothing nila shall be clean and kept in proper condition, no? Dapat nalalabhan, no? Dapat malinis, no? Hayaan mo na kung mabango o hindi, basta importante malinis yan, no? Of course, if a prisoner would be allowed to go out, no? Uh, outside the prison for temporarily and he wishes to wear yung mga sarili niyang damit, no? Pwede 'yan. No? Kasi mamaya nakakahiya naman na halimbawa is nag-request ka na mag-attend sa burol ng iyong kamag-anak, no? Yung immediate family, pumunta ka doon ng nakaposas ang kamay, nakasuot ng letter P na damit na kulay orange, that would be derogatory, no? And yes, that would be very derogatory on your part. And if you wish, to go out, visit somebody with the permission of the administrator, and if you wish not to be recognized as a prisoner, as a convicted felon, now you can wear your own uniform for that matter. Now, but that is of course in approval of the upon the approval of the administrator. Rule 20, yan. So we're talking about Rule 20, yan. Still part of the clothing issues. Rule 21, no? Every prisoner shall, in accordance with local and national standard, be provided with a separate bed and with separate and sufficient bedding. No, I don't know if this is really happening right now. No, as I've stated, wala talaga. There is overcrowding inside the prison. Beddings pa kaya. No, if I don't know if this is the real situation, but I would be generalizing them as a whole, no? Kasi wala pa naman so far nababalita na talagang nakakasunod dito sa mandate ng Mandela rule, specifically in this part of the topic na halimbawa sa beddings, no, sa clothings and so on. Dito nga sa prison situation natin right now, 100 people nagsisiksikan doon sa standard size na room, no? How much more yung sufficient or individual bedding or beds? Wala yan, no? I don't know kung may mga kumot pa nga silang binibigay, no? But I think if their relatives or family of these individuals will provide or give them one, so that's the only way that they will have beddings, no? But knowing the prison system that we have, probably it could be taken away from them immediately by gangs and whatsoever. So karamihan ang nakikita natin is wala, doon na lang sila sa sahig nagsisiksikan, no? Kung may karton ka na higaan, maswerte ka na. Or may duyan ka na higaan, maswerte ka na. But most of the time, talagang wala. They just sleep in the ground, no? Sleep in the whatever open space that available doon sa kanilang mga kulungan. Eh, parang ang lagay na nga, maswerte ka na kung nakakahiga ka pa. No? Kasi yung karamihan, nakaupo na lang matulog minsan. So that's very bad, no? Way of depicting our current prison situation right now. And as I've stated, if these things are not respected, if these things are not followed, these rules are not followed, how would you expect that the rehabilitation or reformation program that we are implementing would be successful? Hindi yan mangyayari, no? Unless we address these issues first before we could be able to implement a true change in the prison system that we have, then nothing will happen. We will always face the same problem. Now, with regards to food, no, are there issues on food kaya? What are the rules in terms of food? So, according to Mandela rule, every prisoner shall be provided by the prison administration at the usual hours with food. No? So, ibig sabihin, susundin pa rin yung tinatawag nating 3 meals a day. No? Yung oras ng kainan, umaga, tanghali, hapunan, no? With the food that has a nutritional value adequate for health and strength. No? Para nang sa ganun, they will be prepared, no? Physically and mentally in whatever activities that are there for them, and also to promote the health of the prisoners. No? However, I don't know if this is happening right now. Maybe I would consider it a little kasi nga kung titignan mo naman, hindi naman kaya talaga na pakainin lang ng pakainin ng mga prisoners natin without even making their food at least produced by their own colony or by their own yes, penal institution, no? Fortunately, there are different programs that address this kasi alam natin minsan nagkukulang ang budget sa pagkain sa kulungan. So may mga ibang kulungan that has the program wherein they're going to make themselves self-reliant. Self-reliant. Ibig sabihin, sila mismo ang magpro-produce ng kanilang pagkain by farming inside the penal colonies. So there are those institutions that are like that. So there are those institutions that really focuses onto that, no? They're planting their own vegetable, they're planting their own rice or whatever is needed to produce the food that they have, no? So they're making their self-reliant, and that is more effective than relying on the public funds being given to them, no? Kasi hindi lang pagkain ang pinagkakagastuhan sa isang prison facility. It also involves their electric bill, their maintenance, the salary of the individuals who are working there, and so on. So, I think it's very much important that they themselves should initiate a move in order to provide these basic needs for the prisoners. And the prisoners should work, no? To be able to get the food that they want. But in case na it's not possible kasi wala naman silang pagtataniman, wala naman silang itatanim, wala naman silang pwedeng gawing paraan para makapag-produce ng food, yun yung mga nagiging self-reliant na sa ating government. And I doubt that the government could sustain, or the facility could sustain, in providing nutritious food to them. No, kaya nga minsan yung mga prisoners natin nagwewelga na because wala silang ulam, laging tuyo, laging ganito, no, pare-parehas every time, walang sustansya and so on. Yes, we heard some issues like that is happening, na kung saan is nagkakaroon na ng massive malnutrition inside the prison because they are not receiving enough food with the nutritional value that helps them build a better health, no? So those are some of the issues. But of course, based on the Mandela rules, this should be done. Ito dapat yung gawin, ito dapat yung mangyari. But again, that depends on to the capability, of course, of the state, of the country to which the prison is situated. Drinking water, I think ito okay lang naman sana. The drinking water shall be available to every prisoner whenever he or she needs it. So I think we have a lot of resources naman to get the drinking water. So there should be no problem with regards to this. But if even this is a problem, then really a prison system would be very much uh, devastating, no, for the prisoners. It would be a living hell for them kung pati tubig napagkakait sa kanila, no. But I would really consider that since Nelson Mandela was before in prison in South Africa, if I'm right, then really this could be really a good issues. But then we can relate to this, no? Pati tayo dito, since we are a third world country, can relate to these issues na hindi minsan na ibibigay itong mga to. And again and again, I would say that until these problems are addressed properly, the concept of therapeutic modality, the concept of rehabilitation and reformation will not be effective if these basic issues here, no, are not being addressed. Okay? With regards to exercise and sports naman, no, I observed this in some jails that I visited. Meron talaga silang mga programs that are addressed or that are focusing on these activities such as exercises. Meron silang mga morning exercises, no? Meron silang mga allotted time for sports or yung mga tinatawag nating recreation, which is good of course for the prison not to be para may pagkaabalahan sila doon sa loob. Kasi imagine mo kung wala na silang ginagawa, anong gagawin nila? Uupo na lang sila doon sa loob ng kulungan, maghihintay ng oras until the time that they will be again going for a certain activities, no? So may mga recreational time naman sila that still allows them to do things that they wanted to do to make them euphoric kumbaga, na para matuwa-tuwa naman sila. Pero hindi lang naman puro tuwa, no? Kasi baka mamaya mas in-enjoy na nila kumbaga yung buhay doon kaysa dito sa labas, na. So there is time for isolation, no? May time na magnilay-nilay sila, no? Or karamihan or majority of their time or nandun sila sa loob ng kulungan, and sometimes nandun naman sila sa open field, which is a place where they can be able to do their exercises, talk with their friends kung may mga kaibigan sila sa loob, no? Have some sports, no? Do some sports if may mga available na mga paglilibangan doon sa loob. So yan yung mga things that I noticed that had been adopted already. Sabi ko nga, the Nelson Mandela rules really plays a big impact to the current to the improvement of the current prison system that we have worldwide. So it's very important to talk about this kasi we would understand better where's the concept of therapeutic modalities are coming from, no? Saan nanggagaling yung mga program na ina-adapt ng therapeutic modalities, no? It always begins or start with these rules that we have in terms of prison and prison management. Now with regards to healthcare service, I think this is one of the hindi masyadong napapansin the issues sa prison system that we have. Under the Mandela rule, it states there that of course the provision of health care of for prisoners should be the responsibility of the state, no other than the state, no. When we talk about healthcare, kasi di ba the state has the obligation to take care of the health of its society, of the society. Kaya nga sa atin, no, meron tayong mga libreng clinic, no? Meron tayong mga health unit, no, sa ating sa ating mga lugar. That is true to the goal of the government to protect or promote healthier life for each and everyone, no? So in case we need health assistance, no, the government has the machinery to do so. But of course, iba na ang sitwasyon natin pag yung mga taong nasa kulungan naman yung pag-uusapan natin. We are receiving healthcare services coming from the government here outside. And I think that should be the same case also for those who are inside the prison. So dapat pati sila, no, kasi tao pa rin lang din naman sila, magkakasakit pa rin din lang naman sila, kaya dapat meron ding established na healthcare services or healthcare facilities doon sa loob ng kulungan wherein if a certain individual, if a certain prisoner or resident of that prison is sick, no, he would know where to go and where to ask assistance. So sabi nga natin, it is the responsibility of the state to take care of the health of those who are inside the prison. Kasi the relative is far from them. Malayo ang kanilang kamag-anak, no? Wala silang pwedeng magpagtulungan kasi wala naman silang liberty to buy medicine and whatsoever. That's why there should be a regular checkup that the doctors or physician of the government should conduct a regular checkup in order to determine the needs, the health needs of the prisoners inside the prison. Okay? So those are some of the things that we need to discuss under the Mandela rule. And as you can see, a lot of the rules that was mentioned under this UN declaration has been adopted by majority of the prison system that we have, no? Especially here in our country, no? Kung titignan ko, siguro mga at least 75% of them are adopted, no? 60% of them are being ginagawa, and some kahit naman inadapt, no, meron sa rules natin pero hindi naman na-implement, such as the individualization of a cell, no, kasi we have overcrowding, we have problems on money, our country cannot really afford to build a prison that would be able to do that, which is, I think, understandable, no. So the best of the government efforts naman really is they're doing their very best, of course, to address those issues and make an alternative way of dealing with these things, no. But again, no, to be familiar with these different rules and to be knowledgeable with this, to be able to understand these different rules, no, we are step by step getting to know the concept of therapeutic modality. As we have stated, there are issues that needed to be addressed first before we can talk about therapeutic modality. Kasi pagdating natin under therapeutic modality, we are focused on the program, no? But then, where's the basis of that program? Where that program was based? Saan ba galing yung programang yan? Ano ba talaga yung principle behind that program? If we know those, if we know the background of the those program, we can understand better kung saan nanggagaling itong mga point na to. And with that, we can be able to understand, to create, evaluate, and probably come up with a better way of with a better therapeutic modalities in the near future. Ano? Kasi we don't know. Maybe you will become someday one of the jail administrator, prison administrator, and there's a need for you to reinvent the prison system that we have, reinvent the therapeutic modalities that we have. So this will be very beneficial to you. No? So, if you want to know more about the Nelson Mandela rule or his life or his contribution not only to this prison system but also to human rights and so on, you can just search more on his name. No, so that's it for this topic. I do hope you you were able to learn something and gain some knowledge about the things that we discussed. No? My goal is at least to impart some knowledge to everyone, no, to the topic that we are discussing. Okay, so if you have questions with regards to the things that I discussed today, you're free to ask. No, pwede kayong magtanong. If I can be able to answer it, I will answer it immediately. No, so that's it for today. I hope you learned something from this lecture. See you on the next lecture. Bye bye.